Well, hello there, everyone. Welcome to the American Scouser post-match show. It's me again, John, hosting. I was there for pre-match. He was there for pre-match, coming off of a 3-1 win against AC Milan at the San Siro. Obviously, a tough place to go. Bad start, but the Reds got it done, and we're here pretty happy. Let me start with you, Sir Z. How's it going? I know you said that your appearance here would have been dependent on the result, but what do you make of that result? How do you like them apples?
Yeah, I still would have been on for therapy, but no, it's a good way to bounce. At least, the silver lining of going a goal down is that we showed that we can come back and actually win a game. So that was a silver lining for that, I guess. But it was a good professional performance. Obviously, we had Simicast being Jekyll and Hyde with his performances. Suppose he really did pretty much. Apart, obviously he scored that goal, which was always good. But yeah, Gravenberch again. I think showing he's probably played this so far for us. So it was a good game.
Absolutely music to my ears, by the way. After Sir Z said that Gravenberch is pretty much a man of the, I was just felt really good inside there. And of course with us, Brian, part of the very enigmatic Thursday crew. But we're always glad to have anyone from the Thursday pod into the pre to post match or even the morning shows if you guys, are willing to do so. But how are you doing, Brian? What do you make of that result?
Doing great. I think it was a great. It was a good result. Like Sir Z said right there at the beginning, it was a little shaky right there with Pulisic getting pulled out on that and getting blindsided right there by Pulisic and all that. But other than that, right there, I think the match was it's pretty tight. We controlled most of the match. I mean, Mo hit the post numerous times. I mean, we had lots of different opportunities on there, but I think that we were basically on the ascendancy throughout the entire match. So I think it was a pretty good performance.
Is it just me, or after that Pulisic goal, and this is for both of you, by the way, and I'll start with you, Susie, did it look a bit too easy? Were you surprised that it was a bit too easy? Right? And I'm going to bring up the stats in a bit, but listen, it's like Milan came in, and it was an entirely different team that played after they scored that goal.
I wouldn't say I was surprised because the crap start to the season. So, it's. I don't think it was a surprise that we beat them the way we did. I don't think they can play low block, and I think for periods of that game they tried to go toe to toe with us, and that's why they got picked off. No, I wouldn't say I'm surprised because the league doesn't lie. The league form doesn't lie. They are where they are because of how they played. And it's probably going to get worse now that we've lost the first choice keeper. But as you were saying, we've gone there, got the win. We don't have to play them again. It's good. Nice 3 points in the bag.
What about you, Brian? Surprised us how easy it was, or were we that good, you think?
I think it's a surprise. I don't really think it's that much of a surprise. I mean, because you have to look at the difference of the leagues. I mean, between the Italian league and the Premiership. I mean, I remember back when like a long time ago when the Italian league was the cream of the crop right there, and now it's kind of like I'd say probably about the third or fourth tier in Europe at the moment. But I mean, also you throw in there like Sir Z said, the AC Milan's position being 10th in their league at the moment. I mean, it showed it right there. But as far as the difference wise. Also, I think our press is totally different. Just pressured them the entire time. I mean, there was some pretty decent plays. But I think the guy that they had on their that they were playing that was going up against Trent right there, the Brazilian kid. I thought he actually looked pretty well. I mean, he had some pretty decent opportunities on there. I mean, with his runs. But I think that our midfield is like outnumbered them, and maybe Slot came there and put him aside on Sunday and said, "Hey, this isn't what I said at the press conference was something being wrong. We're about to right this," and I think that we righted it in this match.
Spencer is here, saying, "Hey guys, hey Spencer, good to see you again." But I think we can all collectively agree, regardless of their league form, an away win in that manner against the San Siro is absolutely impressive. And there is no better way for Arne Slot to. Apparently, it's his birthday. right? There's no better way for him to celebrate his birthday today with that 3-1 win, which kind of was like an epitome of how he wants us to play. And that's a great point as well, Brian. It's a very different energy level that we saw in terms of trying that press, in terms of keeping engaged than we did last weekend against Forest. It's almost as if we were looking too ahead at this game during the weekend rather than like looking what was in front of us back then. But that's a conversation for another day. At least we got the result done. So let me actually bring this up. So this is our team right here against the Milan team. And I believe I'll start with you, Serzi. Do you have an outright man of the match, or or do you think it's like too good of a collective performance to single out an individual here? Obviously, take these ratings with a grain of salt, but I feel like they're an accurate reflection of how we played today.
I think I would have put Konate or Gravenberch as man of the match. To be honest with you, is that Salah man of the match? I don't think he had a man of the match performance. What I like about Gravenberch is that he's going understated, pretty much like Ronaldo did when we had him, and we were winning games. And like we didn't really appreciate Ronaldo until he left. And I think that's where we're going with Gravenberch. And now, because I can appreciate what we love now, I can appreciate Gravenberch more. And I know I'm probably going to be your best friend after this, John. But it's
absolutely.
He's seriously like I mean, you talk about a player that's improved a hell of a lot. He has, and maybe because he fits that position and that the way we play. So just because he does the work that goes unnoticed, I would have put him man of the match, or even Konate as well. Forget about that he scored the goal. He pretty much, from what I saw, he really put a foot wrong today. And this is what his fourth game in a row or fifth game in a row now. He's can stay fit. So it's amazing what you can do when you're not being run to the ground during training sessions and preseason, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. And Brian, I know you probably have a man of the match in your head. And is it Ryan Gravenberch? No, I'm kidding. Like, who do you have as your man of the match after this?
It actually really is. I mean, if you want to talk about it, I'd have to give it to both him and McAllister right there, but Gravenberch probably more so. Just the way that they break up play, I mean, it's just a pleasure to watch out there. I mean, I think that a lot of if you watch the center of the pitch, they dominate that center of the pitch. So, I mean, you have to. I mean, yeah, it's a second shout out to Konate because I think Konate played on that right side, played a very very strong match. But I think that Gravenberch, yeah.
Sorry.
I mean, just to run. I mean, just to run a form right now that Gravenberch is on right there. I mean, it's pretty incredible. I mean, for somebody who was basically a one away from Bayern Munich. I mean, if they couldn't figure out what to do with him, to last year where we really couldn't figure out what to do with him, and now he fits perfectly. He's a perfect cog right in our system. So I mean, right now it's almost undroppable at the moment.
Right, absolutely. And I feel like this is worth bringing up because as good as Gravenberch has been playing, no one really pegged him to be this absolute ball-winning kind of player. Like, you always saw him as more of a finesse kind of player, but his work defensively, Sergi, has kind of been a big surprise, especially for me, because whenever he was put in at points last year, we were like, oh shit, like if we're going to be too open and stuff like that. But do you feel like it's the formation change, or he just needed one season under his belt to kind of feel out the league and feel out his teammates? And obviously the fact that his manager kind of gives him that vote of confidence by bringing him back and naming him immediately first choice alongside McAllister and that double pivot. Do you feel like it's that, or do you feel like it's something else?
Yeah, I think it's a formation change and a belief of the manager. Obviously, the manager's seen him in Ajax, so obviously he's seen something there when he was a kid. And what I love about Gravenberch, it's not just breaking out the play. He really rarely wastes the ball. Even if it's a short pass or picking a good long pass, his passing is pretty efficient. So he's not just breaking out the play and then giving the ball away. Really can't criticize the game now.
Right, absolutely. And Brian, obviously, no player won possession back more often tonight than the Dutchman with 9. That is insane, by the way. Like, that is just prime Fabinho numbers right there. Obviously, AC Milan didn't play their best game, and I might be going overboard here, which is on brand because I'm this channel's biggest Gravenberg fan. But let me actually try and tone down a little bit here before I get ahead of myself. Let me go into early prediction mode with you guys. Considering how great Gravenberg has played so far, should we still go hell bent on a 6 this January? And I'll start with you, Brian.
The only way I'd go do with that is if we have another injury crisis and we have to move McAllister up more forward. That'd be the only way that I would go out there and say that we have to have a number 6 at the moment. I thought that in the summertime when we came there went pretty heavy on Zubimendi right there and saying, hey, this is our guy. I don't think we really came there and gave this partnership a little bit a chance to flourish, and it has. I mean, between him and McAllister. But again, if you have something that happens up there with Salazar right there, or we have to go and move a player around or something like that, because Maka would to me be the natural person to go up to replace Salazar. So then you'd have to go look into a number 6. And I don't think that we have anything out there that we could use, because I don't think Endo fits the system very well. I mean, even that little bit of time period that we had Endo come out in the extra time, there were still problems right there, where he was basically getting pushed aside in his battles. And I'm surprised he didn't get a card right there for the one challenge he made on Tammy Abraham. And then the other option you have right there is Tyler Morton. And Tyler Morton is he's not a Liverpool player. He's technically somebody who's taking up a space right there temporarily right now. I mean, he may have a bright future somewhere else, but not here. Then you have Curtis Jones, who cannot play that position. It's not his position to play in. So again, if we stay healthy, then no, there's no need for a number 6 at the moment.
Sergi, what about you? Even if we stay healthy, do you still feel like the idea of losing a Gravenberg or a McAllister, or God forbid both, through injury is too scary a thought for you to go like, yeah, we should get one just in case?
No, I think we definitely need to get one just in case. And I think we kind of jumping the gun with, if we did get Zubimendi, everyone's just assuming it would be Gravenberch that would have been dropped. But I think Szoboszlai would have been dropped. Zubimendi would have played alongside Gravenberch, and McAllister would have played further up front, further forward. So that being the case, you definitely need another centre back. A number 6 for sure, and a left back short today. Unless Gomez can fill that role, and Tsimikas doesn't play again, But like I say, I think everyone just kind of assumes Gravenberch would have been the one to be dropped to Zubimendi came in, but I really think it would have been Szoboszlai.
Well, speaking of Szoboszlai, it felt like I know, Brian, you mentioned at the start of the show that it was a Jekyll and Hyde performance for Tsimikas there, but there were times where it felt the same with Szoboszlai, although he did grow into the game considerably leading up to that third goal. What do you make of his performance? Because it's a lot of industry, a lot of great work, by the way. He didn't stop running, he didn't stop pressing. There were a lot of times where you felt like he chose the wrong decision here, chose the wrong decision there, didn't look as hard as he should have had. What do you make of his performance?
I feel like I'm watching Milan Barros 2.0 a lot of times when I watch Szoboszlai. I see the same exact kind of running, and you get that little bit of brilliance through there, but mostly a lot of times it's a lot more running. I mean, I really had a lot of I don't think he's a bad player. I think that position that he's in is not the greatest position right there for him to be in. I think as a playmaker, I don't think he's a great playmaker. I think that would, to me, fall under somebody more or less like McAllister or Harvey Elliott being in that position. But I think that McAllister is victim as being a utility player where he can play everywhere there is on the pitch, and so you have to put him back in that double pivot because you really don't have a choice. I mean, at the moment, right there, because you can't not have him on the pitch. So I think that ultimately right there, I think that Mo's position to me is the better position for Slavozai right there because of how and he's played that position when he was at Red Bull. That he's a more wider type player with a lot of speed that draws players toward him and all that. And I think that's what he does well. I mean, at least he's toned down shooting outside the box. So I'm kind of happy about that right there. That he actually does more shots and getting into the box up there. But I mean, again, he's a good player. I mean, let's just think that he's in that position where we have to play him somewhere, kind of, but he doesn't really fit in that number 10 spot, kind of like where he's at the moment.
Gordo says he had some wonderful, skillful moves to open up Akers' space. He did as well. Like, it's just kind of the good and bad here, Cersei, with Szoboszlai. I would say I would come off of that game feeling positive about him. I think he bounced back relatively well because, like, although to be fair, that Forest performance was rock bottom. That was that was like lowest of the low, so he didn't have anywhere to go but up. So, but what do you make of him? Like, do you feel like he's bounced back well, or do you feel like there's still some question marks in terms of how he's fitting in that number 10 role?
I think there are some question marks. I mean, admittedly, I wasn't his greatest fan last season. He started really well, and then he dropped off. And admittedly, this season, for the first 2 games, he did play well. So maybe against teams that don't play that low block, he comes into his own and he does play better. I guess teams with low block, we just get frustrated at everyone. And he's one of them ones that kind of like stand out because he's there to create and he's not. So, when we come up against teams like what Forest did, and we're going to have them like with Everton and whoever basically going to follow that blueprint, we're going to struggle with players like Szoboszlai. He just can't, break a low block defense. And that's what Ilya would have been ideal, but obviously, Murphy's still being what it is. It's, unfortunately, just got a knock at the wrong time.
It seems like what Brian brought up earlier about McAllister moving to that 10 can also be a solution if we do face a low block. Granted, I'm not super convinced with Curtis Jones in a double pivot yet, although I could be wrong. He did look okay during preseason, gave away a few balls here and there, which can be excused because it was preseason, but who knows? We'll see. It looks like the manager doesn't like rotating anyway. And I think you mentioned, Cersei, during the match in the Discord, the only time he's going to rotate is when we lose guys through freaking injury, which is a worry. So let me actually bring that up with you guys here, and I'll start with you, Brian. How concerned are you that it's the, 4th straight match where Gravenberch and McAllister played a solid 90? Trying, single-handedly holding that midfield line, because as listen, I am the first guy who is extremely happy that Gravenberch is getting his first choice, right? But then at the same time, I feel like we're putting so much load on his legs and McAllister's leg where we might end up like in the future with a Fabinho situation where he's basically run off his legs at age 29 or something like that.
I mean, I'm definitely concerned right there. I was concerned with McAllister playing in the Forest match. I mean, from making the knock that he had, and then and then coming back, then flying back only a day or so before he actually went on the pitch. Those things like that bother me, like with the South American players, is immediately introducing him into the sides. But yeah, with Slot definitely rotating out his fullbacks more than he does his center back, his midfield. It is a concern right there that they could probably get the wheels ran off of them. But again, it goes back to what other options you have at the moment right there. I mean, I guess it goes back to what we were talking about with the number 6. If we went in for number 6 right there, maybe not a highlight number 6, but a number 6 that could actually play in the system, maybe we could have Catherine had that way to rotate. But right now, I just don't see how we can possibly rotate some of these players out until we get to the League Cup at West Ham. I mean, that's why I was kind of talking in Discord about right there with what Gally was mentioning about Kwanzaa go there playing against Bournemouth. I don't see it. I don't see Kwanzaa or a lot of these guys getting in here until we get to League Cup, because I don't think the League Cup is going to be a priority for them at the moment. With your deal with this many matches right there between the Champions League and between the league, you something has to sacrifice, and I definitely think that the League Cup is going to be the spot right there for your fringe players basically getting their shot.
I know your stance on this, Cersei, because you mentioned it quite a bit on the Discord. But do you agree with Brian that with against Bournemouth, we're probably going to see 90% of the similar lineup against them? Probably a Luis Diaz here, maybe, or an Andy Robertson at left back, but pretty much the same lineup. You feel?
Yeah, I think Diaz comes in, which should be it'll be harsh on Gary because he had an amazing game today, but then Diaz has been great all season as well. So I think Simicast definitely gets dropped. Bournemouth, they don't play a low block, which suits us. Yeah, I just don't see him. I mean, he's admitted himself, like when he played that when he was managing a Feyenoord, he very rarely rotated. And that game that we lost against Forest was his first loss this whole year. So it's hard. I mean, it's
yeah. I was gonna ask, like, do you think that's a good thing? Do you think that this is sustainable? Because as good as it is, like, obviously 4 wins out of 5, right? Great, but if we're playing devil's advocate, looking long term, going with a 90% similar lineup for every single game is not going to win us anything, right?
I think a lot of us it's PTSD from Klopp's days, but half these players were injured by January because they were doing triple training sessions, and Klopp notoriously won the best perfect start, and it just ended up catching up on, so obviously the training methods have changed a lot. So, who knows? And, maybe they might pan out. I mean, we definitely have quality on the bench that can come in. It's just that, like I said, it's the 2 midfield roles that, God forbid anything happens to either one of them two, we don't have enough. We don't have the drop off from that to what we have on the bench isn't good enough. And
I totally agree.
Maybe have what McAllister has.
Yeah, I totally agree. That front, I think we have lots of interchangeable players in the front right there that we can do, because even Gabko could step in for Slavoslav right there. I mean, and fill that role. I mean, you have Curtis Jones. You have lots of Chiesa now who could do 4 different positions right there that he can play. So you have that part right there set. It's that whole back part right there between Gravenberch and McAllister that kind of could be a little bit worrisome.
Yeah, and Gordo mentions here, especially come December, where if we're unlucky, we can see a starting double pivot of Curtis Jones and Wataru Endo against maybe a Manchester City or Real Madrid, right? Like, listen, I don't want to be the negative Nancy here, but then it's a valid conversation considering how both McAllister and Gravenberch have played full 90s for basically every single game here. But listen, it's a great win. I don't want to put a dampener on a great win here, but let me actually put the spotlight on someone else other than Ryan Gravenberch. I know it's hard, but I think Big Verge and Konate as well, they had pretty decent games. And these numbers specifically from Van Dijk, because obviously Konate has had a great match, but Van Dijk is one of our pillars here, and these kinds of numbers, the accurate passes, the clearances, the aerial duels won, which we know is kind of his signature here. This is something that you can't replace, which makes it really, really questionable as to why we're not offering our captain a new contract right here. Because when you go away, right? Let me start with you here, Brian. When you go away to a solid team, you can have all the attacking flash in the world, but what matters is if you can keep your back line solid and composed. Granted, we didn't for the first 3 minutes, but for the next 87 or 90 or so, we looked pretty composed due to those two. And a big reason I think was Big Verge. Why do you think, what is the thinking that you think that the club is, kind of putting up as to why they're not offering him a contract, especially when he just comes up with performances like this, where I feel like we're just taking for granted?
Boy, you're digging into some really touchy subjects there,
right.
John. Right there, that's some Thursday night stuff right there. So, okay, so I came to divulge on this a couple of weeks ago, right there, about this little penny pinching deals that are going on right now between the people who have the money, who hold the purses. I really think I don't understand any of it right there because I think that we had 4 essential players on that pitch right there today, right there, that have to have contract renewals. Allison, Van Dijk, Trent, Mo. All 4 of them right there deserve deals right there. I mean, I know that we have a little bit more time, but we really don't for Allison. But the other guys should be. I mean, Trent should be on a 5-year deal, and the other guy, and both Verge and Mo should go on 2-year deals. I mean, they have enough in all of them right there to last right there to go forward. And the thing is, we don't have anybody out there to replace Van Dijk at the moment. I mean, there's like little talks about this guy, but right now, Van Dijk's still pretty top of the game, and really, and aside from that one injury that he had that a couple of seasons ago, by a shitty ass Everton keeper right there. I mean,
Right.
besides that right there, he's held his own. I mean, he's still right there. You have keepers out there playing in the league, playing out there as a top tier to 34, 35 years old. So I mean, and he's not there yet. So I mean, give the man his money. I mean, and I'll say honestly, last year I was very questionable about him being captain material. I'm not questioned about that anymore, right? I think he's a pretty solid captain right there. I mean, he's a different captain from what we had with Hendo and Gerard, but he's the type of captain that this side can use right there. So we definitely need to offer all these guys new contracts.
What about you, Susie? I know you're in the same camp. There is obviously some financial mumbo jumbo that they're talking about and everything like that. But we know Michael Edwards is a numbers guy, right? Michael Edwards is a very statistically driven guy. And if we're talking about these 4 players, they have some of the best numbers in the world. So is it, you think, an age thing, or is the club just trying to keep within like a budget or something, within a financial structure, and they feel like with these guys getting to certain ages, it's not worth giving them 3-year deal or 4-year deal worth 250 or something?
Yeah, and if you look, a couple of seasons ago, we had to choose between Mane and Salah. Right. So if we had to choose between 2 of them, how are we going to choose between 40 or like immediately 3 of these? And I think I don't think it's a clever strategy or anything else. I think we just ballsed it up, and now we're, if we're going to keep to that mantra of not breaking the wage structure and so forth, I think out of that 3, only one of them, we only keep one of them. Trent will be the most viable in terms of the most valuable. But how do you choose between the 3? Even when we had Salah, Mane, and Firmino playing, we weren't winning anything until Van Dijk and Alisson came along. So you look at Van Dijk's numbers, and he's got to put on the chat. He's like Franco Baresi. If you remember him, like we played like Italian defenders. You can't. There's no defender out there. Maybe Saliba comes close, but we're never going to get Saliba. And Van Dijk, he's just reinvented his game. He was the best defender in the world for a period. Got injured. The season after he almost got the quad, he dropped form completely, and then he just reinvented himself. So I think it can go for another 2 seasons, but I just think we've backed ourselves. Our backs are against the wall with our own rules that we've set ourselves, and so something has to give. Either we break that structure and give Salah and Virgil what they want, and Trent, without saying, this 25, he's at his peak. He can pretty much demand what he wants to demand, and we do that, or only 1 out of the 3 will end up staying.
Absolutely. And again, I don't want to put a downer in this, because this is a solid win. This is a great win, guys. And I'm sorry for kind of getting into this territory here. But every time I see Verge put in a performance like this, Mo scores when he does, Trent ping a pass there, I'm just like, why don't we give this guy's money? As Brian said, it's just the natural reaction. Like, why don't we give these guys the money? Obviously, they're reaching a certain age, but they still look like they're 28, 29 years old. So I don't know. That's a conversation for another show that's probably going to take hours and hours if we really got into it. But keeping to the present, Brian, takeaways from this one: has it made up for the Forest loss?
Yes and no. I would say right there because I think that league form right there is definitely something that you want to keep consistency with. So I'm going to say no on that. Yes, and that we were showed that we could actually come from behind, and we could actually put a performance in, and a pretty dominant performance. I mean, on top of that, and I think also getting 3 points right there in this weird Champions League format that we have is pretty vital. So we really probably need to have at least 4 more wins right there to get through to the top 8. I'd say 14 to 15 points right there is going to probably get you in the top 8 right there. So that's just a good start with us. I mean, and we have a couple tough matches ahead of us. I mean, so so that's my big positive right there is getting the points right there and actually showing that that we've got the gall right there to take a gut shot right there and keep on moving. And it's good seeing. It's great seeing Chiesa come out there with a smile on his face.
Absolutely. Yeah. Good to see Chiesa and good to see Gakpo as well. Cersei kind of touched on it. Good to see him just kind of fit in seamlessly to that left wing position, which we've been crying out to see him there. Cersei, I know you've been pretty upset after last Saturday's loss. Does this make up for it?
That's all we could ask for is a win, right? For the next game. And we got that, and we showed that we can not only come back from going a goal behind, but we can win the game in dominance. I guess the acid test will be on Saturday. You know, another home game. I know lots being made of the crowd support, and you know, the crowd are just kind of like echoing what we feel as fans. It's not club football, you know, and we have to adapt to that, and we have to adapt to periods. It's going to be long because we just keeping the ball like you do, and you know, I think Saturday will be nervous, but you know, like that Bournemouth game, if we can come back and and we win that, then we can put Forest down to it, and that we've got to learn from our mistakes.
So, this win and a Bournemouth win would make it up for you, Sergi.
Oh yeah. Sure. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Because it made up for Brian's made up with this one. Okay, just wanted to with you. It needed 2 wins. Okay, so as is American Scouser tradition, as I would like to say, let me get into prediction mode here. Are we good enough to go all the way and win this competition? So let me actually phrase it this way: if I told you, like, I was from the future, right? I was from, let's say, June of 2025, and I told you we won it. Would you be really surprised, bro? How surprised would you be, Brian, that we won it?
It's gonna be really tough right there. I would be really super surprised right there because the way this format works right there is I think you're gonna see a lot of teams who you consider top tier in that pot 1 that probably aren't gonna make it through right there because of how you have to face other pot 1, pot 2, pot 3, and pot 4 teams. So I think that I would be super surprised if there. I mean, but I do think realistically at the moment right there, I always see us as going past in the round of 16. I can see us getting past the round of 16 with the squad right there. I mean, especially if we get some more reinforcements come January to, especially that number 6 role that we were talking about, another left back, something like that, just to kind of fill up a couple spaces and all that. So yeah, I think I'm okay with that.
Spencer says he'd be pretty surprised. I would be pretty surprised too. Like, I would probably say our ceiling is semifinals. But I haven't asked you, Cersei. What about you? Would you be really surprised if I said that we won it this year, went for number 7?
I wouldn't be surprised because of Liverpool. I watched us win the Champions League with Jimmy Traore and Smeetser and Barros.
Right.
No, I wouldn't be surprised because it's a Liverpool thing to do. I think taking the Liverpool the hat off, knowing that Real Madrid aren't winning it, that would be a surprise because I think the competition belongs to them. But yeah, no, it wouldn't surprise me. It's just a Liverpool thing to do to win this Champions League.
Right, and hopefully in a few months' time, we'd be going back to this prediction, right? We'd be going back to this prediction, and Cersei would go like, I knew it all along that we had what it takes, right? Lifting number 7. But that pretty much is it for us, gentlemen. I appreciate you joining the post-match show. Great win, and I'm glad that we can actually go and kind of enjoy the rest of our night here. For those of you who are listening, if you haven't yet, please subscribe to our YouTube channels. Please like us on Facebook. We actually have a Discord as well. I do not have the link on me, but please tune in for some of our shows because I know Timuchin has that link there. So a lot of crazy conversations that go in there during the match. Darwin Nunez doing Darwin Nunez things. Tune in tomorrow morning for the Wednesday show, the Wednesday morning show. You will see myself, Gordon, and Timuchin, and then followed by Thursday, the Thursday night podcast with, like I said, the enigmatic crew with Brian and co over there. But as always, guys, thank you for coming in and thank you for everyone listening. We will see you soon. Up the Reds.